Hello everyone and welcome to one of the best games we've seen in a while. I could easily call this the game of the year or maybe even the game of the decade, and I probably would not be wrong, but it wouldn't be fair to do so as this game was not played by humans. It was played between two engines, Stockfish 16 and PlentyChess 1.0. I haven't done any research on why the game was played or anything at all other than it was played on this exact date and on this website CCRL, the Computer Chess Rating List. So if you guys are interested in that, do the research yourselves. But I didn't want to overshadow the fact that how great this game is by throwing unnecessary information. But I will mention that the game was played on the exact same day my son was born, as you can see on the 9th of April 2024. So I'm not into science or anything, but if I was, this would be a pretty big one, as this is an amazing game. Now, how I came upon this game, Yozarov, my brother-in-law, he also has a chess channel. He came to visit with his family. They came to check up on their new addition to the family, on the little baby Tal, and one thing led to another, and of course he said, "Hey, man, you want to see a great chess game?" And I was like, "Sure, of course. I mean, if you have a great chess game, you don't just keep it to yourself. You have to share it with everyone." And then he showed me this game, and I was wow. I mean, this is just I will have to show this game on my channel, and he agreed. He said that yes, as many people as possible should see this game. He also did a video on this game, and I will put a link to his video in the description below. Will be the first thing you see. So also check out his video. I have not watched it as I don't want our variations to overlap. Since this is computer chess, you can pretty much go into any detail you want, and you will never exhaust the game. So do check out his game as well. But yeah, it's interesting that he named the video, and I also took his title for the video, the queen sacrifice that Rashid Nezhmetdinov did in his famous game against Chernikov, which is also a video that I did on this channel a long time ago. It is actually the most viewed video on this channel, probably like 7 million views by now. And yeah, since this is a blitz game, I thought it was funny that well, as Rashid Nejvedinov is famous for saying, "He who analyzes blitz is stupid." This is a blitz game, and I'm analyzing it. So let's go with that. As he also compared the game to the great Rashid queen sacrifice on f6 against Chernikov. Okay, so let's check it out. I've thrown in a bit of unnecessary information there, but just wanted to let you know how I came by this game and why I'm showing it. So let's check it out. Stockfish 16 with the white pieces opens with knight to f3. Starts off with a Reti opening. Now, I don't know if the openings are predetermined or if they're not. I don't want to spoil the magic. That's why I did zero research on why this game was played. I will just mention that although you can see these are very... Okay, I believe I got the ratings wrong, so let me just quickly go over that. Just give me a second there. Yeah. At 3802. Okay, Stockfish is of course higher rated, not 3740. All right, there we go. I just wanted to mention that even though they are much higher rated than you would expect human players to be, they would be much higher rated if they were playing against humans. Because okay, Stockfish 16 has this rating in this particular setting, as it acquired it by defeating other engines over the course of 100,000 games. Over a certain period of time. But if Stockfish was playing against humans, it would probably defeat all of them at every point in time. 0 draws and 0 wins for humans. So the rating would be even much higher. So this is Stockfish 16's rating in respect to playing against other very strong engines. Also something to bear in mind. Now let's check it out. Stockfish with the white pieces opens with knight f3. We have the Reti, g6, the so-called the fianchetto variation, and now pawn to b3. And this is already incredibly rare. There are only a handful of games with this position in the database because, well, you are expecting black to go bishop to g7, so you know that you're not in time to go bishop to b2. Looks like something children would play. So that's why I don't know if the openings are predetermined or not, but let's leave that for some other videos. Bishop to g7, we have pawn to d4, pawn to d6, and now bishop to b2. Okay, looks very normal, nothing spectacular happening here. Knight f6 and pawn to g3. Stockfish says, all right, I'm really slow playing this. I'm gonna fianchetto my other bishop as well, and probably c5 or b5 is what's happening next. Maybe castles kingside, but not really. PlentyChess opens the center with pawn to e5, and this looks rather odd, as the e5 square is controlled 3 times by Stockfish. But okay, Stockfish captures on e5, and now PlentyChess just plays knight f to d7, saying I will recapture here, and you cannot capture further because of bishop captures on b2. And okay, Stockfish continues development, knight to c3. This is already a new move, so as of move 7, we have a completely new game. And now d captures on e5. We have queen to d2, preparing to castle queenside, and pawn to e4, just grabbing more space. And again, it seems like you're blundering a pawn, but not really. The bishop here is undefended. So knight to g5, and now h6. PlentyChess really playing some plentiful chess here, because why wouldn't you capture the pawn now? Well, because if you capture f5 traps the knight has no squares. That's the problem. c5 covered by the dark knight, and g5 covered by the pawn. It would lose you the game. So here, knight back to h3, and now castles kingside followed by castles queenside. And here, just a nice queen to e8, defending the pawn, and also sidestepping that d file. We have bishop to g2. Stockfish continues by fianchettoing the other bishop, and now knight to f6. And okay, equal material, development continues. Looks like a fine position for both of them. We have knight to f4. A wonderful square for the knight. Of course, if g5, you don't mind black weakening the position, and you might consider advancing the h-pawn. So many possibilities here, but you are also fighting for the d5 square, so PlentyChess decides to fight for the d5 square as well as continue some advancement on the queen side, and also it will be useful against the light square bishop on g2. So pawn to f3, hoping that PlentyChess captures on f3, so you can get the rook into the game, and then and thus finish your development. Or if f3, just pawn to a5. This is what PlentyChess plays. We have queen to d4. Which is a beautiful move, because if you don't play this move, a4 is coming, and then I mean you could play a4 yourself, of course, but then b5 is coming. If you don't, then a4, and even if knight captures, you know that rook will capture on a4. You've seen this so many times, even you in your own games play this. But queen to d4, this looks like something you really shouldn't do. Okay, if the knight wasn't here, the queen bishop battery, sure, and this knight moves, you checkmate the black king. But I mean, black has so many moves. Black can just play knight h5 and attack your queen. So what's up with that? Okay, not knight to h5, but here PlentyChess goes for knight to g4, saying, okay, your queen is attacked. I'm also threatening knight f2, so where are you moving your queen? If you move your queen somewhere like g1, then just e captures on f3, and let's say queen e3 check. We trade queens, nothing really happening here. Black completely neutralized this silly gameplay by white. However, after knight to g4, we've reached the position from the thumbnail, and here Stockfish plays queen captures on g6. And okay, it's a queen sacrifice. You know that you're getting at least 2 pieces, but is it enough? Well, I mean, it's a 3800 rated Stockfish, so obviously we are in for a wild ride. King captures on g7, and now f captures on g4. Opening up a discovery right away from the bishop is not as potent as you can block with the knight. Sorry, not knight f6, knight to e5. You can block with the knight. And okay, now black is obviously much better. But after king captures on g7, we have f captures on g4, taking the knight, and now pawn to f6, just closing up this diagonal. So okay, where is this counterplay that we are eagerly waiting to see? Bishop captures on e4, going after the g6 pawn. And now the problem is not just that your king side is very vulnerable. Look at black's development. Look at that queen side. This is just disgusting. And the point is, if you further try to postpone your development, let's say you play pawn to g5 in order to keep the position, then comes knight h5 check. Let's say king to g8, pawn to h4. Now you're going to open up the h file as well. And now let's say you start developing knight a6, the h file opens up. All of a sudden, rook to d6 comes, and now everything starts falling apart. There's no defense here. Even if bishop to f5, you can even play. If bishop to e6, you can even play bishop to f5. And if captures and captures, let's say queen to e3 with check, king to b1, rook captures on f5, and now it seems like black's out of the woods, but pawn to g4. Only move that wins, but I mean, the Stockfish would definitely find it. And now after, let's say, rook e5, rook to g6 check, king to h7. And now many moves are possible here, like rook to g7 check to kick away the king, but also the spectacular knight f4. Rook captures on h6 will be checkmate on the next move, and there is not much you can do about this. You can play something like queen to g1 to trade off rooks, sorry, after g captures on f4 to trade off rooks, but now after rook to f6, white is just up a full rook, and easy win for Stockfish. So that's the problem here after this bishop to e4 move. It's not just the capture a pawn, it's the forced resignation. So black cannot afford to defend the king side. You have to go for development right away. Knight to a6 is what PlentyChess plays, and now bishop captures on g6. Attacks the queen. Okay, queen to e3 check, king to b1, and knight to c5. Okay, PlentyChess getting some development in, but here comes rook h to f1. You no longer need your rook on the h file. There's no pawn on g5 to help you open up the h file. So rook to h1, rook h to f1, putting pressure on that f6 pawn, and now bishop captures on g4. We have pawn to h3, asking, are you maybe interested in a pawn here? Yeah, you really, because if bishop captures and knight captures, the bishop on g6 becomes weak. But that's exactly what happens here. Bishop captures on h3, but now knight captures rook to f3 instead, going after the black queen. Queen back to e7, and now pawn to g4, trapping the bishop. Beautifully done here. And now if bishop captures on g4, the problem is rook g3, and you just don't have a way out of this. If you play a pawn to h5, doesn't really work, just bishop captures on h5. And if you try the other pawn, well, then this bishop comes alive, like knight c to d5 with check, you lose the queen, and that's pretty much it. So after pawn to g4, bishop to g2 was played, and now comes knight captures on g2. King captures on g6, and knight to h4 with check. We have king to f7. Again, you cannot go to g7 now because knight to f5 check would win you the queen. So knight to h4 check, king to f7, and now knight to f5. Attacks the queen, queen to c7, and now rook to d6. Again, putting everything up against that f6 pawn. We have king to g8 running away, and now bishop to a3, introducing another attacker into the game, pawn to b6 defending, and now just knight captures on h6 with check. We have king to h7, knight back to f5. We have rook a to e8. PlentyChess also develops, the rook finishes development, and now rook to h3 check, king to g8, and rook back to d1. Now preparing to double up on the h file, we have rook to f7, and now rook d to h1. And here, of course, you have to be careful. The threat of rook to h8 checkmate is a terrible one. So rook to d7 was played, and now, okay, you do have some squares here. This is the, well, many positions in this game could be considered critical. I would consider this one to be a critical one. What would you play here? Any move is a move. You can, I mean, really play anything, but try to figure out what a 3800 rated engine played here. While I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding the mating net. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to e3. Yeah, it's just one of those moves that you either your uncle plays or a 3800 engine plays it. Otherwise, it does not get played. The reason for this move is, well, let's just try to go the easy way. Let's try to checkmate the black king. Rook to h8 check, king to f7. Rook 1 to h7 with check, king to g6 or king to e6. King to e6 would be made in 3, so king to g6 is much better. And now, how do you continue? If rook h6 check, king back to f7. If rook 8 to h7 with check, now you go here. Now the rook is not under attack. And if knight to d4 with check, you can simply play king to e5. Of course, if rook captures, then the queen on c7 hangs. So king to e5, and now let's say knight to f3 check. What do you play here? You go back king to e6, and there's no good way to get the job done. However, after this rook to d7 move, e3 was played. Like we said, this takes away the f4 square from the black king, so that's very relevant. And also, it frees up the e2 square for your knight. So then you can go knight to e2. You can bring the knight to d4. You can bring the knight to f4, and it will be much harder for black to run away with his king. Yeah, maybe Stockfish plays this, your uncle plays this, and I will say Vasily Ivanchuk will find pawn to e3 here. But okay, rook e to d8, doubling up on the d file could pose some problems here, and now just king to c1. Saying that even if my knight moves and if my rook moves, I'm perfectly fine here. We have pawn to a4, now trying to bust open the queen side, and bishop to b2. We have a captures, and now queen to e5. And to understand queen to e5, it seems like a lousy move, but to understand why, let's try running away with the king. See what happens. Well, rook to h7 check, king to e6, knight to d4 check, king to e5, and now rook 7 to h6. And what do you play here? It's really a difficult position to solve. But let's say you go rook to g8. You want to stop g5. Let's say you go rook to g8, and even if rook delivers check, you can block with rook to g5. This is what would happen: rook to g5, rook captures, f captures, rook captures, f captures, and now knight to g3. And knight to f3 with check will be checkmate, as the f4 square has been taken away from the black king. So you can see how this pawn to e3 move creates huge problems for our good friend PlentyChess here, who is really getting the beating here. So that's why trying to escape doesn't work. Other moves aren't really that impressive. Queen to e5, the only active attempt, but it means that you are admitting that white's queen sacrifice was a sound one, and that you are now offering to go into an endgame where you are lost. I mean, of course, you could still fight if this was played between two humans, but Stockfish will not fail to convert this. So, okay, rook to e8, rook to h8 with check. Now, you could also go for something like knight to e2 to attack the queen right away, but then you run into problems like rook to d1 check, and then after rook captures, queen captures on b2, after the rook is captured, queen captures on b2, and all of a sudden black is back into the game. So after queen e5, rook to h8 with check. King to f7, rook 1 to h7 with check, king to e6, and now, of course, rook captures on d8. And you cannot touch this rook, otherwise you get checkmated. Rook to e7 will be checkmate. So after rook captures on d8, rook captures on h7, but now just rook to e8 with check. King has to move, and rook captures on e5. You win back your queen. F captures on e5, and it's only move 43, but I would consider this to be game over now. The game lasted for some 40 moves more, but I would call it a day here. I will show you the rest of the game, of course, because I mean, why not? But it's merely converting by Stockfish, but it is assuring how it converts. So let's see, bishop to a3. But yeah, I mean, this is the part of the game that I really wanted to show you. And if it was played by any human on the planet, it would be deemed the game of the year, game of the decade, perhaps. I mean, if it was played by a famous person, it would be called the game of the century. So yeah, I mean, really hope you enjoyed this. But yeah, let's see how it converts. Like bishop to a3, rook h1 checking, b2. There's not all that much you can try here. But Stockfish will, of course, be engine level precision here. Rook g1, bishop captures. Okay, pawns get traded off. Knight to d4. Now rook to g6, knight f3. Not much happening here. Bishop to f4. Now it's merely a matter of do you advance the pawn, or do you first win the queenside pawns and then advance the pawn. Here you can see some pawns were pushed. Not much can be done here, creating sort of a mating net around the black king, but merely just taking away some valuable squares. And here you have to trade. If you don't, your position is just terrible, but it will be decided by the pushing of the e-pawn. So captures. Now it's a rook against knight and bishop, and yeah, it's going to be a very quick game from here on. The b6 pawn cannot be defended, just captures, and now the pawn marches forward. That's pretty much it. That's the story of this game, but it is only the first part of the game that I really wanted to show you. Yeah, and black gets checkmated here. So, it started off by a normal opening, something that, like I said, yeah, you usually wouldn't see. G6 followed by b3 looks absolutely disgusting. Something you would see maybe in a bullet game if you made the pre-move. Then Stockfish gives up the queen for bishop and knight, and then all of a sudden, a few moves later, Stockfish has a bishop and knight, not for a queen, but for a rook. So, yeah, really wild stuff. Really hope you guys enjoyed this. I mean, yeah, like I said, if it was played by a human, definitely easily game of the decade, but it was not. So we have to. That's why I'm always careful about showing engine games. It's easy to get into this, sort of a trance state where it's like an addiction. You see a couple of these games and you cannot watch human games anymore. I always like to say, when in 2016, I believe, on Christmas, they released the first Alpha Zero games, and after I saw those games and I started analyzing them, I was analyzing them and publishing them on my YouTube channel for like a week. I think I uploaded some 10 games, and it was so difficult to get back to human chess after that. So while I will throw in an engine game from time to time, I don't like to do it too often, because I don't want to create addicts on this channel. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really check out Yozarov's game, or Yozarov's video on this game. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so probably our lines do not overlap. So you could easily double your pleasure. I would like to thank friend Andrei Schrade, Mike Wagner, Marshall Bern, and Rudiger Osterman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.